What do you get when you combine the manifestation of sentient artificial intelligence mixed with jaw-dropping and captivating storytelling? You get an amazing book by indie sci-fi author C.D. Tavenor. Hi, I'm Garrett K. Jones, and this is the second installment of Author Awareness.
I try to make new content every week, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube.
Good morning. Yeah, I know, I shaved my head. It was time for a cleaner look. Anyway, before we get into the bulk of this week's video, I want to remind you of Free Comic Book Day coming up on Saturday, May 4th. I'll be at DJ's Collectibles, 214 North Irwin Street in downtown Hanford, California from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. There will be vendors and cosplay and an after party at the Fox Theater in the evening. More info will be available over the next couple of weeks. Alright, without any further ado, here's the interview with C.D. Tavenor. In just a few sentences, what is the premise of First of Their Kind?
So, GKJ Publishing, thank you for having me on today. So your first question, what is First of Their Kind about? And that's a hard and easy question. We'll go with the easy route, and I think that the important thing is that First of Their Kind is fundamentally about synthetic intelligence and the idea of what would a person be like that is artificially designed, that is put together not as a computer program, but as like an artificial brain, and then how would that person interact with the world, and how would the world interact with that person?
What was your inspiration for this story?
So inspiration. So I studied philosophy in undergrad, and one of my classes was a cognitive science class, and in that class we talked a lot about theories of consciousness, and in that topic we discussed a thought experiment known as the Chinese room. It's a famous cognitive science thought experiment where you ask, okay, if there's a black box and there's a bunch of information going into that black box and then a bunch of information going out of that black box, from the outside, it might look like there's actually like thought going on inside that black box. But then when you open up the black box, there's just a guy in there interpreting, and in the thought experiment they use like Chinese symbols into English or something like that. And it's an analogy for a computer program, saying that like when you send information into a computer and then you send it out, it might look like there's actual thought going on, but there's really just a program taking inputs and spitting out outputs. And the thought experiment is supposed to say that, you know, a computer is never going to be like a mind. And so that thought experiment got me thinking about, okay, well, if we couldn't ever make a computer program be like a biological mind, what would a mind, an artificial mind, need to be in order to be like a human mind? What would that look like? And so I play around with the idea of a programless synthetic intelligence.
Is First of Their Kind going to be a part of a larger series, or will it be a standalone book?
First of Their Kind is definitely designed to be part of a larger story, a larger series. I've already got, so First of Their Kind comes out April 30th, 2019, and its sequel will be coming out, tentatively I've got it scheduled for late June of this same year. They were written together, and together, First of Their Kind and its sequel, Their Greatest Game, tell a complete story. Together, I could leave them standing alone as two books, and I would be completely happy. But I definitely have other stories that follow that I would hopefully have the opportunity to write. I'm not committed to it. I want to see how people receive these two books first, and that's why I definitely wrote them to sit well together. But you know, I'm excited for those other tales that I might tell. And hopefully those will be coming down the line in the next year or two.
What prompted you to become a writer?
So what prompted me to become a writer? I think that might be the hardest question that you've given me. I have been trying to write stories of some sort since I was probably 5. So one time my wife and I were visiting my parents, and they actually discovered a handwritten story from when I was 6 or 7 that was absolutely terrible and was literally just a copy of a picture book that I'd read. But that question of what made me want to be a writer is hard because I don't remember. I have always been trying to write tales, and so I think, especially thinking about the stories that I read growing up, though. So I like many kids, in our generation, I grew up reading Harry Potter. I grew up reading Narnia. I grew up reading Lord of the Rings. I also grew up reading a ton of Star Wars books, and just also here's our cat. Ophelia. Ophelia inspires me to write. Maybe that's what inspires me to be a writer. But no, I think it's just that when you are reading a lot of tales that take you into these crazy worlds or make you think about these crazy ideas, it makes you want to think about those ideas yourself. And so I just started writing those words down, and I will say my earliest writings from when I'm 10 or 12 are absolutely terrible. But when you go back and look at some of those, you can definitely see these little snippets where I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty good, and it all grows and builds upon itself.
Are there any other genres you might be interested in writing?
So I definitely enjoy writing just beyond science fiction. So my first story released on Kindle Unlimited actually was a short story about 7,000 words titled Legion of Mono, which is a fantasy story, and I encourage everyone to go check it out. I've had a lot of fun writing that, and a lot of people have said a lot of really good things about it. So I think that's a common dual genre typing for a lot of authors, where they've got their science fiction stories, they've got their fantasy stories. I've got first of their kind in the science fiction genre, and then I've got a larger project that I'm working on that is untitled, but we'll just call it a mashup of climate change, fantasy, and kind of in the style of the secondary world, maybe Sanderson type world, but it's fantasy, climate change, but it's inspired. The narrative is inspired by the musical Hamilton, so that'll be fun. And so I've got the science fiction, the fantasy part. Do I want to dive into any other genres? Probably not. I feel like most of the time I'm going to stick within those, but every once in a while there might be a story that fits squarely outside of those, but probably not.
So that's it for this week. Special thanks to CD Tavenor and Two Doctors Media. You'll be able to find First of Their Kind on Kindle starting April 30th. The link is in the description below, along with information for Tavenor's publisher, Two Doctors Media. Next week, no vlog, but I will be doing another 1-hour live stream event on YouTube starting at 7 p.m. where I will be discussing some of the fantasy tropes that I use, and I'll be promoting the giveaway I'll be doing that weekend. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at GKJ_publishing and the hashtag 5kingdoms. If you want to see more awesome content, support me on Patreon. And of course, you can always find the vlogs on YouTube. Looking forward to next week. See ya.